right, what's up, guys? Sanch here, and welcome back to another episode of Bodybuilding News Today, the show where I give you guys an update on the IFBB and the NPC. Let's go ahead and start off with Big Ramy. So obviously winning the 2020 Mr. Olympia in the men's open class, absolutely fantastic showing, great conditioning, and for the most part, that's what the fans wanted to see. He brought the conditioning that was needed. He brought the shape that the judges wanted, and with that, he won the Mr. Olympia. Now, if you guys remember from the physique update where we had about 1 week out, Dennis James, who was helping Big Ramy with in-person coaching leading up to the Mr. Olympia out of Arizona, he was on the Fuad Abiad's podcast, a fantastic bodybuilding outlet. And his coach, like I said, Dennis James, was showing some sneak peeks of Big Ramy. And we are finally able to and lucky enough to see those photos, Big Ramy posting them on his Instagram page. And I mean, what can we say here, guys? He looks absolutely fantastic. You know, being 1 week out, I think that he definitely made some big improvements, definitely dried up and got a lot sharper. I think the tan helped a lot as well. And of course, the fantastic stage lighting at this year's Mr. Olympia in Orlando really did help bring the best package that Big Ramy has debatably brought to the stage. Of course, in my opinion, I do like the 2014 version of Big Ramy, courtesy of Fernando Arroyo on Instagram. Thank you so much. I mean, there's nothing really missing with this physique that Big Ramy brought in 2014. I mean, he had debatably better conditioning, better leg separation, smaller waist. All around, I think he was a very complete bodybuilder, a Mr. Olympia caliber physique, but for some reason in 2014, he just wasn't getting the nods. Maybe it's because Phil Heath, the reigning Mr. Olympia at the time, was still very sharp, very 3D with his muscle, very full, and that's what the judges were looking for, and the judges wanted to stick with that. Not too sure. I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comment sections below. What do you like of Big Ramy? Do you like 2014 better, or do you like this year's 2020 version where he won Mr. Olympia? Love to hear in the comment sections below. But also, Glory Old School on Instagram reposted some photos of Big Ramy, never before seen content footage of Big Ramy 1 week out from the Mr. Olympia. And I mean, he's looking really good, very big. His legs are, of course, crazy as usual. I like how he has his midsection really under control in these shots, something that his coach at the time, or even still, Dennis James, was emphasizing was Big Ramy getting into the poses first, and you'll see it throughout the footage of the Mr. Olympia. Check my channel. I have lots of content covering the Mr. Olympia, but he was the first to get into the poses, and he was the last to get out of the poses, really giving the judges everything that they needed to see to judge him perfectly against everyone that he was up against on stage and off. So absolutely fantastic to see this content coming from Big Ramy. I think there's going to be a very long streak for Big Ramy as long as he brings good conditioning, really good conditioning, hopefully better than what we saw last year. And definitely, if he can bring better than what we saw this year, I really do think he can go a long way with the Mr. Olympia title. Let's go ahead and move into Patrick Moore. Patrick Moore, 4 days ago, as of now, posted some photos on Instagram showing an 8-year transformation where he went from a not very small, but I mean, a somewhat smaller version of himself to where we're looking at now, him in peak bulk season, very big, very wide, doing some back shots here for us. I like Patrick Moore. I know it sounded like I was critical of him during the competitive season. He just didn't bring the conditioning that I thought that he needed to bring to win shows, and it really did show in California. Of course, the lighting was horrendous, but you know, he brought great conditioning, but I feel like he's just holding back just a little bit. The midsection looks a little watered down. The arms look just a little flat. The chest looks a little flat in some shots. I definitely think he can bring better conditioning, but for the most part, I mean, an outstanding physique. The aesthetics that Patrick Moore brings to the stage are very far and few between. A lot of bodybuilders don't bring that level of classic-esque physique and posing. There is one critique I will give Patrick Moore, is his posing does seem a little stiff. I'd love to see him get a little bit more fluid, something like a Dexter Jackson when he's doing his transitions. I mean, Dexter Jackson is a legend of transitions and mandatories. Respectfully, I think Patrick Moore can learn a thing or two from the old timers, and definitely improve his game coming into the 2021 season. But we loved what we saw from Patrick Moore this year. I really do think he's going to make the improvements already in the offseason, getting ready for 2021. We definitely look forward to seeing Patrick Moore on the stage in 2021. But let's move over to Steve Laureus, one of probably the most anticipated and most successful classic physique guys, just turning pro in 2018 and then rolling right into a Mr. Olympia qualification. He won a show in 2018 and then placed 7th, borderline first call out at a classic physique Mr. Olympia, his first Mr. Olympia, his first year of being a classic physique pro, somewhat unheard of in bodybuilding. Classic physique is bodybuilding, but it's a classic take of bodybuilding. And, I love Steve Laureus. I think he has a beautiful physique, very streamlined, the aesthetic, the lines. He just looks very beautiful. He has a very beautiful physique, but it looks like he's posting some off-season physique updates he's looking huge. He looks like, debatably an open class guy, but the midsection is just so proper. He really keeps it under control. The legs just look like centaur legs, just growing out of those midsections. Even the calves look monstrous from the front. I really do see Steve Laureus doing very well in the classic physique division this year. Of course, there are names coming up, people coming out of the woodworks in classic physique. It seems like almost every year, a very young class, and the judges are still trying to figure out exactly what they want. Now, Steve Laureus is a somewhat taller bodybuilder in the classic physique category, so I do see him doing some serious damage at the Mr. Olympia in 2021. And I would love to see him up against Chris Bumstead, at least in a first round call out, get them side by side and give Steve Laureus some good bullet points, some good notes moving into the next year in 2022 on what he needs. What are the judges looking for? What can he improve upon? And I just looking through his photos from 2018, 2019. I mean, the guy is complete. I don't see any lagging body parts. I don't see anything lagging. If anything, if he brought just a little bit more conditioning to the 2020 Arnold's, he could probably place better. But with Alex Cabanero and Rough Diesel, I mean, those two guys battling out for that first and second, it was really hard for him to sneak in there. But, I think he has the physique. He has the height to do well in men's classic. It's just figuring out what the judges want, and then to him just to keep growing into that weight cap. I believe he still has, quite a few pounds to go. Second to last story, Neil Curry, one of the guys that really got famous for his squatting videos on Instagram and, just the absolute mass he has in the leg department for a classic physique competitor. Recently, I think it was in 2020, he did finally win his pro card in the IFBB, so congratulations to Neil. But he's posting some off-season content around 240 pounds moving into the 2021 season. Very excited to see what Neil does this year. One of the real up-and-coming bodybuilders in classic physique. Really looking forward to what he can bring to some serious big-name shows. If he can get an invite to the 2021 Arnold Classic in Ohio, or really just any Arnold Classic, I think he could really do some damage. Putting him up against the big names in classic physique would really help him out. And I think if he got next to those big guys, those big names, the judges would get a good look, would give Neil a good look, a fair look. And that's something that's really difficult to get nowadays. Now, let's go ahead and finish off. I know I've covered quite a few people, but let's finish off with Akim Williams. In my opinion, one of the biggest shocks in placings in a good way at this year's Mr. Olympia. I had him barely in the second call-up, maybe even at the top of the third, just based off of conditioning. I didn't particularly love what I saw from him at the Chicago Pro. Of course, footage is very deceiving, especially with Akim Williams. He has very thick, very dark skin. But what he brought to this year's Mr. Olympia, the 2020 Mr. Olympia, was absolutely fantastic. Jaw-dropping conditioning. I mean, looking at the hamstrings on some of these back shots, just seeing the separation from the live stream, I couldn't even see that. I'm sure you guys couldn't even see just the level of conditioning that Akim brought to the Mr. Olympia. I mean, absolutely fantastic. The feathering, the cross striations, and the quads on these somewhat victory poses. I mean, the guy is just insane. He truly is and does embody the future of Men's Open if he can continue to bring just like lights out, jaw-dropping conditioning. I really do see Akim Williams doing well in the 2021 season. Will he crack? Will he stay in that first call-out? That's the real question. People are going to be coming. There's going to be a lot of guys that weren't able to come this year that probably will be able to make it for next year. Definitely interesting to see where he's going to fare up with all these other guys coming back for the 2021 Mr. Olympia. Of course, everyone's been talking about Akim Williams doing well. It's just, can he bring the conditioning that he needs? And for the most part, I think he did that at this year's Mr. Olympia. I think that if he brings that conditioning again at any show next year, he can easily win or at least get a good 1-2 call at any given show in the next year's 2021 men's bodybuilding season. And that'll do it, guys. Covered a few different things. I hope you guys enjoyed this longer formatted, multiple topic story coverage for NPC and IFBB pros. News in general. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys enjoyed this episode, consider liking, and if you guys enjoyed bodybuilding news coverage in general, definitely consider subscribing. We have lots more content coming out in the near future. Like I said, thank you so much for watching. My name's Sanch, and I'll see you guys in the next one.